So we have classified the examples under each of this type. Now we can proceed with what is the meaning then of this print or broadcast or online. So we'll start with print. Okay, but before we start with that, allow me first to define what news is. So it's the communication on current events, or print, broadcast, or internet, or word of mouth to a third party or mass audience. So basically, this is the information that we want to convey to others, and we want others to convey to us, especially in this kind of situation. What is happening now? How is what is the status of COVID-19 in our nation? What would happen to our nation? Do we have classes? Do we have work? So something like that. Now, with the print media consisting of paper and ink. So this is reproduced in a printing process that is traditionally mechanical. So remember what I mentioned remember what we learned from the evolution of media, wherein somehow I hope that you get to understand how the print media works. Okay? So in a newspaper, which is one examples of print media, this is a regularly scheduled publication, news, information, and advertising, inexpensive, low-grade papers such as newsprint, mostly public affairs and events, and of course some entertainment. Okay? And if you get to read a newspaper, then you'll find out some of these parts, like when you go to the first page, if you are reading a broadsheet, when you go to the first page, you have there the headlines and also the news, and then it has there in each column that it can be, or you can read the whole story on the other page of the newspaper. There's also, if you want to know about the business, it has business side. If you want to know what's happening in the what's happening to our favorite celebrities. I'm sorry about that. Okay, and also if you want to read some comics, okay, to entertain yourself, or you want to answer some of the tabloids, they have this crossword. Okay, so if you want to answer something, and also if you want to know more of the lifestyle, and the designs, so on and so forth. So this kind of information, everything is in the newspaper. So there are different types of newspaper. So we have the daily newspapers, example of which the Philippine Daily Inquirer. These are the broadsheets, but you could also you could also find the daily newspapers from Tempo, the tabloids. Later I'll discuss the difference between broadsheet and tabloids. Okay, so pretty much daily newspapers, these are being published on a daily basis, okay? Or these are being released on a daily basis. Next, we have the weekly newspaper. So mostly this is on the business side, okay? What I found is the Sunday Times there. This one is published in or released in the US. Okay, so you can find this one, or even in Europe. Okay. National newspaper. So when we say national newspaper, it's also these daily newspapers, but the coverage is national. So it is released. This type of newspaper is released all throughout the country. But when we say special audience newspaper, this is regional. So the language used in the special audience newspaper depends on the audience of that particular region. So, an example of which, the Mindanao Daily, we have that. But of course, it is only released in some parts of Mindanao. Again, they have different dialects or languages there. And the Bohol Chronicle. Here, the tabloids and the broadsheet. So, if you haven't seen any tabloids yet, you could actually see this if you go to areas like Cubao. You'll see this together with the broadsheet. This one is quite short or shorter than the broadsheet. Broadsheet is longer. And an example of tabloid would be the Abante. And for the broadsheet, of course, the Philippine Star, as I mentioned earlier. So broadsheets or dailies are the major newspapers printed in the long paper format. And of course, the tabloids, these are smaller and easy to read. And thinner newspapers, usually it has like 12 pages only, 8 to 12 pages. But for the broadsheet, it has more. Okay, more pages. Then tabloids are usually not trusted. Usually with the broadsheet, they partnered with, say for example, Jollibee. Like Jollibee partnered with Philippine Star. So if you purchase a certain amount, then you'll be able to get this broadsheet free. And this is how USA Today is produced. So how the newspaper is produced. Okay, so you can actually check this. You can watch YouTube for this on how they prepare newspaper. Okay. So basically, what happens is that when I was single and was working in crossing Mandaluyong, I encountered this situation wherein there was this reporter asking for any news or any issues from the present. Okay, and then they were asking anything like what happened. Is there anything that happened in that area that they could feature in the news? Because once they get that, and that was like 12 a.m. because they are trying to get news that they could use for the daily newspaper, which is for that following day. Okay. Now, let's proceed to the books. Okay, another examples of print would be the books, the comics, magazines, and the publishing industry. So, we have for the books, we have the pocket books. I read this, especially when I was studying in college. I studied in FEU in Moraita. So, there were a lot of stores or stall with or offering pocket books, okay, like the Precious Heart Romance. I read that a lot because I read that a lot because that time I was reading a lot of law books, and that is just to unleash the stress, okay, to relieve the stress. Okay, so language is major determinant of what kinds of books are bought by specific types of readers. So if you are into, if you are fond of the Tagalog, then of course you'll go for the Tagalog books. But if it's the English, okay, whenever you read, you tend to comprehend more of a book written in English, then you buy that book. Okay, So when we say Tagalog written pulp romance novels, okay, colloquial written teen romance novels, and Tagalized popular fiction novels. So we have the Twilight Tagalog version. So how would that? I haven't read that one. Okay. The Fault in Our Stars by Jan. There are some books that are written into it's still English, but the language used there is very simple, that can be comprehend, that can be understood by teens or teenagers. Okay, so comics have been part of Filipino pop culture. We like this. If you are a 90s child, you may ask your parents this, if they've eaten bazooka, and then that bazooka, it's a bubble gum with comics. The wrapper of that bubble gum is or has comics on it, so they can read while chewing. Okay, so the materials, okay, so it's been part of the Filipino pop culture and are sources of story materials that get translated into other forms of media products. So we also see this in, just a moment.